All right, so we're looking at another skill set, 5 problems, maybe even a 6th. We'll do mental math at the end. So simplifying some imaginary expressions here, some imaginary terms. And just a reminder, I is defined to be the square root of -1. And if you square that, you get -1. Okay, so when we're looking for intersections of graphs that don't intersect, especially with the quadratics, they come into play. All right, so I do not take the textbook approach. Textbook likes to do I squared, I cubed, I to the 4th, memorizing those and then applying it with the remainders here. I like to hit the rules of exponents because students are sometimes weak in that area, and this helps strengthen that quickly and easily. So we have 8. I'm going to use a dot here because the action is here. All right, and I'm going to make that I squared. And I squared has to get multiplied by another I in order to be the same. And we know what that is. It's -1. So this becomes 8 times -1 times I. Final answer, -8I. All right, so let's raise the level of difficulty 1 notch. We have -9 times where the action is. The action is I to the 15th. We're going to change that into an expression of I squareds. I squared 7 times gets me up to I to the 14th. I have a remainder of 1. So therefore I now have -9 times -1 to the 7th power times I. Another reason I like to do this is students have a little difficulty knowing what -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1. I don't know if I said 7 or 6, but I hope I said 7 is -1. All right, so an odd number of negative multipliers gets us a negative. So that's -9 times -1 times I, which becomes 9I. Okay. 7I to the 40th. Got my science card back. 7I squared looks like 20 times gets the job done. No remainder, and there's no extra I there. So that's 7 times -1 to the 20th. I hope we recognize that one negative is a negative. A multiplication of 2 negatives is a positive. A multiplication of 3 negatives is a negative. A multiplication of 4 is a positive. 5 is a negative. 6 is a positive. Odd is a negative. Even is a positive. And we have an even number of multipliers. So that becomes 7 times 1, which is 7. Here we go. Continuing on our merry journey. So this is -15 I squared. I think that happens 16 times to get me to 32. I have another multiplier of I in order to make these things equal. That's -15 times -1, 16 times I, even turns -1 into +1 times I -15I. And we're going to talk about some patterns here at the very end. 3I to the 42nd is 3I squared 21 times. That 21 is an odd number. So 3 times -1, an odd number of times, keeps this negative, -3. All right, see if you can do this one in your head. 4I to the 101. And I'll give you a second to pause. I'll look at it and see what I see. I see -4I. Let's see if I was right. I see 4. I see I squared 2. 50. I was wrong. 50 times. I had 25 in my head. So that should be +4I. Talking, not thinking. So that's 4 times. -1, 50 times I is going to be 4I, right? Because that's even. All right, so I had that thought process of 4 somewhere back in my head, and it threw me off. I don't want to end on that note. Let's throw another one down. All right, let's go with 7I to the whatever. 7I to the 49th. There, that 7s might get me in trouble. Let's see. So that's 24 times, right? This time I got it right. So that should be 7I. So that's 7I squared 24 times gets me to 48. I have one more, that's even. So this expression becomes positive 1. And 7 times 1 times I, 7i. There, I think I ended on a better note. All right, but that's why you have to check your answers sometimes. Make sure you don't make careless. Now let's look at our patterns here. Minus 8i. All right, let's look at our patterns here. Positive 9i. 7 minus 15i. Negative 3. And 49, 7i. Yes, that's what it became. All right, so what do we see? I see an odd number, and there's an I in the answer. I see an odd number, there's an I in the answer. I see an even number, there's no I there. I see an odd, there's an I. I see an even, there's no I in this answer. And I see an odd, there's an I. Now, that's probably important to see on some level, but it also can get you in trouble because you don't want to say odd or even, right? Because it's not odd or even. Well, that tells you whether you have an I in the answer or not. That's true. But remember, you've got to go I squared first. Then it's all about odd or even as to whether or not we put a positive or a negative in front of the coefficient. All right, so that's enough said. There's your practice. I'll upload this one and we'll just keep going right up the ladder with all the topics on that test.